last Nissan GT-R rebuild video, we stumbled across an issue that completely hard-bricked our car. In fact, it seemed as though at certain points it wasn't even receiving power from our battery. There was a key light in the dash and we couldn't get any other reaction from the car, including ignition. But it turns out this entire ordeal may be solved with a $20 part. We've come such a long way rebuilding this R35. From an unfortunate T-bone collision to a trailer across the deep south to our home here in Florida, this car has been through a lot in only a few months. We dropped the entire front subframe without a lift or cherry picker, replaced compromised frame rails while learning how to MIG weld on the fly, and even managed to turn the engine over. Until we blew a huge fuse. And I think I know how it happened. So let's get to it then. I don't have a lot of patience. I want to make sure that this actually does fix our problem, because if it doesn't, I will be at a complete loss. And again, just a reminder, this is that 140 amp blown fuse. It is possible that maybe some wires were crossed when they shouldn't have been. I actually think that when I wired these back up, this one on the right was supposed to go to the left, and then this one on the left was supposed to go to the right terminal. It's possible that maybe one of these leads is protected by a larger fuse than the other, and that maybe resulted in the blown fuse. But I looked online and I noticed that these cables were actually reversed in every GT-R photo I could find. And so what I'm gonna do before we actually try starting the car is we're gonna swap this entire piece out, this entire terminal, and we're gonna make sure that these wires are swapped backwards. I have no idea why Nissan decided to move this cable to the left lead when it's actually coming from the opposite side of the car. To me, this seems more intuitive, but hey, I'm not Nissan. And a quick sanity check, this part was actually purchased on Amazon and overnighted. So, what do we have here? Yes, it looks like all the fuses are in place, which is good. Every connector looks sound. It actually looks like a used part, oddly enough, even though I was told it was new when I bought it. But upon closer inspection, it looks like these fuses are actually a lower amperage than what was originally in the car, and that might be a problem. That could be on me, I don't know. I looked at the photos and made an assumption I probably shouldn't have. Let's give it a shot. Worst case, the fuses blow again and we're back to square one. I'm too impatient. Let's try. Definitely not an ideal situation to be in. We were misled with that listing, but this should at least tell us if our suspicions were true. All that we needed to do was connect a few cables from one terminal to the other, and it locks and unlocks now. Wow, so that entire ordeal, that entire fuss, it was all over. Let's go ahead and, yeah, look at that. Wow, that was all because of that blown fuse right by the battery. That is just bizarre. But can we start the car? It's possible these fuses might blow when we attempt to do that, although I think because I've crossed those wires back around, we'll be okay. As long as the fuses don't explode. That's the one word. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get this car to finally turn over. So far, those fuses look okay, and that was after one attempted start. It wasn't a good one. It died pretty quickly. So again, I'm wondering if any of that has to do with the fact that we're using an off-the-shelf tune and we're using super large injectors. The ECU should, in theory, be able to account for the extra fuel being dumped in, and it should be able to scale that fuel back as a result. I'm just not sure if it can account for that big of a change in the injector size, because the stock ones are pretty dang small. But then this happened. Did you hear that, buddy?
Yeah, I did too.
That was cool.
Yeah, I heard that.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, that was a bit unexpected, but I don't want to go any further without Tommy, so I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna spend some time with the kids tonight. That is just fantastic news. Also, yeah, we lost a lot of power steering fluid, and that's because we don't have the radiator yet. That's supposed to be coming in like within the next 10 or 20 minutes, but at least it wasn't motor oil. This is awesome. Time for other serious matters then. The engine obviously had oil from the last video, but it was bone dry on coolant, and I didn't want to proceed any further with fluids until we knew for sure that our battery terminal swap would fix our no start issue. Sure enough it did, so we grabbed our vacuum filler and connected it to our upgraded coolant reservoir. With the help of our compressor, we pulled a vacuum on the entire system, held it there, to ensure we had no leaks. We could see all of our coolant lines collapse for lack of atmosphere, and the gauge never wavered once we maxed it out. We then opened a set of valves to prime our filler line, ensuring no air would find its way into the system. Then we opened the line to the reservoir and watched as our vacuum was slowly replaced with blue coolant. Doing things this way ensures no air is trapped in the loop, keeping the engine and core in check once things were up to temperature. By the time our gauge ran to 0, the reservoir was completely filled. Our power steering cooler was installed next. That's this tiny radiator here, and then we filled it with genuine Nissan fluid given to us by Derek over at Drizza Auto. He's helped us out a ton behind the scenes with this rebuild, so be sure to show him some love over on Instagram, link below. You know, every time we've tried to do this, something's gone wrong. So I'm hoping that you being here this time is good luck.
I'm feeling good.
Here we go.
Come on, Nelly. Whoa! Dude, we should leave it like that. That's perfect.
That was wild.
That's perfect.
It didn't sound like a V6, I'll tell you that much. Let's just see, for a sanity check here, I want to see what the oil level is now that the oil cooler, I assume, is getting filled up as the engine runs. If we're just below min, it's not a huge deal. We are a good bit below that, though.
We're way below.
We are way below, so we are not running this engine again until we get that oil. Done with that for now. At least you got to hear it, Tommy.
Dude, it sounded amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Spectacular.
I'm curious what it's going to sound like with a stock exhaust, but aftermarket uppers. That's going to be
pretty awesome.
A pretty unique sound. I think we'll have a lot of induction noise too once we hook the intercoolers up and can actually get boost pressure.
So how does that noise go again?
Now it was time to get under the car for, hopefully, the last time. The exhaust needed to be buttoned up, as did a transmission mount bolt and a few braces. Just buttoning up these drive shaft bolts, which are in a very easy place to reach. This is easy. Doing all this without a lift has been a serious challenge, as I'm sure many of you can imagine, but it's also taught us a ton about working on cars in rather primitive settings. We always implement redundancies like jack stands and blocks of wood where necessary, even if you don't see them on camera. And yeah, sure, maybe we go a bit overboard on PPE at times, but I've never heard anyone regret playing it safe. It's silly to blame us for taking PPE too far when it has literally saved our eyes, it's saved our ears. You will thank yourself later. In short order, the rear half of the exhaust was bolted up correctly this time. It's no longer sitting crooked, along with our polished tips. Then it was time to shift gears, literally. So we've gotten our GT-R to crank and start. But will it move in gear? We hadn't tested the transmission since the accident, so we had no idea what to expect. On went the wheels, down went the car, and up went my blood pressure.
Yeah! Dude, that's what's up! Yeah!
It moves! It went in, no problem!
Whoa!
Oh, dude, I was low-key so worried about that transmission. That felt really good. Granted, we were just in first gear. We haven't shifted it
That
yet.
was reverse, right? That was great.
Yeah, we have to rewire everything the other way. No, that's fantastic. I mean, what a way to end today. We've still got a lot more to show you guys in this video, including getting this proper ready for the road. I do want to take it around the block once we have the intercooler set up and maybe some other body panels and things ready to go. But for now, the fact that it moves under its own power is mega. The next day, I decided to bolt up our large STM intercooler a bit prematurely. This included a couple of OEM charge hoses to round it all out. We were still missing the bracket needed to fasten it to the frame, which proved to be an extremely elusive part and an expensive one, as you'll see shortly, but a few zip ties and tube tension should keep it upright for now. What I really wanted to know was whether sealing this side up would fix our rough idle issue. See, so far, our map sensors were all out of whack because compressed air from our turbos was actually venting to atmosphere. It definitely sounds smoother now. Far from ideal still, but smooth enough to actually move around. The car effortlessly switched between first and reverse, allowing us to position the car a more traditional way in the garage for the first time in again a couple of months. I couldn't be more happy with the progress we've made thus far. Big day today, big box. This is a Nismo front bumper. Ignore the fact that it says made in China. Don't show them that.
Oh, don't show, okay.
Don't show them that. We are ballers on budgets. This is supposedly a mock-up, sort of like fake Nismo bumper that uses real carbon fiber. You really never know what you're gonna get from these kinds of vendors. Sometimes you get really good quality stuff, sometimes you don't. This cost $2,000. It looked really good in the photos. That's all I'll say. So a sucker's born every minute. I might be one of those. Oh, yeah. Tape removed. So this is actually a piece unique to Nismo bumpers. You get these like little, I don't know, gills, if you want to call them that, on the sides that I think look pretty aggressive. This feels pretty good, I gotta admit. So you get an opening there. This is for the air to rush into the oil cooler on the passenger side in this case. You can see it does have the cutouts for our daytime running lights, the LEDs. This is a DBA specific feature, so that's cool. It also has the mounting holes for the lower front lip, which is also important. We could just drill these if they didn't exist, but it's nice that they are already there. Pretty light. I mean, you can tell it's, you know, it's like mostly a composite, right? That's what Nissan would call it. But the carbon fiber was what really got me going. And, well, I'm a little bummed that there's a couple holes in the front because we don't have front license plates here. But other than that, I think the carbon itself looks really good. The weave looks nice. And again, it has the Nismo gills on the sides, which the originals in like premium GT-Rs do not include. Yeah, you see, Tommy, that's why I was confused. In this photo here, no holes. No holes in the center. Now, granted, this photo includes a gap where the tow hook would go, but we don't have holes in this picture. We very clearly have holes in our bumper. And it's right in the middle of the carbon fiber, which, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I was just hoping to keep it clean up here. We're gonna have to put some sort of like cover vanity plate or something, like, I don't know. There we go. Yeah, this is a heavy piece. Also notice, I'm not sure if the original splitters have this, but there's like ducting in here. You can see like air goes in both sides, and then from the inside you can see how it's like funneled, I guess, for brakes. The carbon looks good, so the entire front section that you'll see, because the bumper will butt up like basically right against this, that is all exposed carbon fiber, and it looks really good. This is our upper grille piece. Yes, it's used, but it's in good condition, nothing cracked, nothing broken, and it does include the GT-R emblem, which you might not be surprised to hear this, but this emblem is actually expensive in its own right, just like buying this, which is an authentic OEM part. So let's see if this at least lines up with our bumper and go from there. We've got a little wiggle room in this, so if it doesn't line up perfectly, you know, maybe we can play around a bit with it. But I think it clips into, yeah, so I see the clips on the bumper itself. That's actually, dude, that's gonna line up perfectly.
Whoa.
Yeah, it clips in effort, like there's no.
It looks sick from the outside.
Wow. Yeah, no, there's like no problem back here. I could push it all the way in. It would lock in, no problem. Now this is an actual, genuine Nissan part. I forget what this is. We're just gonna unbox a bunch of stuff. Why not? We're in the mood. Oh yeah, this actually is for the bumper. Wow, okay, I'm glad I opened this. So yeah, this actually helps bolt up the bumper to the core support, if I recall correctly. Pretty sure, yeah, it's these holes. It's these bigger holes here. Something like that. And this piece, and this is a used piece, but it is a genuine Nissan part. This is the cover. See how flexible that is, Tommy? That's what we don't have. We don't have this sort of flexibility on the replacement. But I wanted to put these next to each other to show you why I really want this to work. So you can see next to the DRLs, we've got these little indents in the original bumper, which look fine. We don't have that though on the Nismo bumper. That this actually has like a more girthy, prominent like protrusion outward for those gills on the side, which our original doesn't have. So it makes it look beefier. So I think for next steps, it makes more sense to mount the headlights and then the fenders, because we know those are gonna work. Those are OEM parts. We have one original, this side here, that's still painted the same color, no damage at all, thankfully. We don't have, again, some of the brackets, including this one right here, for the intercooler. Right now it's suspended by this piping and some zip ties. So it's a little sketchy right now, but if we get the crash bar installed and we can wrap that front bumper around the other body panels, that will be a pretty good indication of whether or not it's all gonna work. Because if it doesn't, it's It's going right back to China. These have been sitting on the floor for a while, but if you recall, we got these used for like, I think 400 bucks combined on eBay. The owner of this car, I think, upgraded to some like newer LEDs. A lot of folks do that on these GT-Rs, especially with older model years. But apparently the bulbs still work and everything, and it should just be plug and play. Now this, you can see the mounting points for it. They're gonna be there and there. And then we still have all of the electrical connections from the headlight on the car this came from. So all it'll be is a simple cable from our harness that will plug into the headlights. We'll take this opportunity as well to make sure that they work with the car on. And would you look at that? So these little forks line up perfectly with the mounting locations in the core. Of course, I expected all this to line up because it's all OEM, but that is a breath of fresh air for a pair of headlights that didn't originally belong to this car. This harness is a bit twisted. We're just gonna connect these again for testing purposes later. Check it out, headlights back on the car, maybe even for good, although we just realized in the moment that we'd have to remove the headlights again to get the fenders installed. We weren't really sure if we would have to finagle with this anymore. Now the fenders would have to come off again for paint later, but we wanted to have everything at least sort of roughly fitted in before we commit to sticking with any of these parts, especially the bumper, which was the only non-OEM body panel being fitted to the car. As we expected, our OEM panels lined up like clockwork, including the one original to the car. It actually still had PPF on it, by the way, so I don't think it's gonna need to be painted at all, and the other lined up just as nicely. All screw holes matched up perfectly, and our headlights created a seamless transition on both sides. Things are looking good so far. Both fenders, both headlights are mounted, and the gaps look really clean. Of course, again, no real surprise there. But what I want to check next before we bring the bumper over is whether or not the headlights actually work. So, I'm gonna hop back here. Tommy, you give me the yay or nay.
Are we placing bets?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Oh.
Actually, it works though. It's not scraping or anything.
Oh, we got light.
Are they on?
They're on.
All right, let's try the brights. Here we go.
Yeah. Let me check the other side.
That is awesome.
Hit the brights again. Yeah, you're good.
Oh, dude.
What?
All right, blinkers. Let's do blinkers. Here we go. Left.
Yep.
And right.
Oh, dude.
That's great news. Headlights are checked off the list, and now we can move on to that bumper. Now, this is where things could go south very fast. I don't want to ship this thing back because it's going to go back a long ways. It's going to cost a lot. I'm crossing everything I got.
Guys, before it goes south, please subscribe.
Subscribe! Headlights
Yay.
work! Come on, subscribe, guys. That red button is right there. And just gotta click it. Left click on the mouse, or if you're watching on your phone or tablet, just little touch with the finger, and that's gonna go a long way for us. So again, thank you so much just for even clicking on the videos. It's a huge help for Tommy and I. We're hoping to hit 100K at some point down the line. That's like a huge goal of ours. If we can hit 100K subs, I mean, mega. I already told Tommy we're gonna go celebrate in Tokyo and buy something crazy over there. So
yes. And where are we gonna put the silver play button? Somewhere in the garage, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, somewhere where everyone can see it. Cause I mean, you gotta like that's a thing to be proud of. But we still got a long ways to go. So we're hoping you guys enjoy the content, and we're just gonna keep shelling out the best quality stuff we can in hopes that we can grow our base. So, all right, bumper time, and hopefully not bad news. A ton was riding on this bumper. It was a complete shot in the dark, and I know a lot of you are second guessing my judgment over an obvious Chinese knockoff, but I actually really dig the quality. And for $2,000, I mean, compared to a real Nismo front bumper for an R35, I think it's a pretty sweet deal, especially since the carbon fiber is in such good shape. We carefully lowered it into place, we wedged just underneath the headlights and around each fender, and to our surprise, it fit up nicely. A bit of bending and brute force needed, yeah, sure, but even the OEM bumper needs a bit of that. We're gonna make this one work. It's rough around the edges, but we'll button it up, we'll make it look good. Once we bolt everything down, we'll have tighter tolerances, we'll put the lip on, and it's just gonna look mean. God, I love these grills on the side. So with the radiator bracket set to arrive shortly, which is the last mechanical piece we need to get this car safely on the road, we are going to go ahead and do something that we probably should have done in the beginning, and that's drain the ethanol in this fuel system. Actually, it's all E85, so we're just gonna drain the whole fuel tank. And the way we're gonna do that's gonna be a bit unorthodox. There are some methods where you can disconnect. Actually, I'll bring you over here, Tommy, to show them. So these two fuel lines, one of these is a send line, of course, the other is a return. And there are kits where you can actually pop one of these out and then all of the return fuel, instead of being dumped back into the tank, because you need that fuel pressure, right, to get the engine to combust, will instead dump into your canister of choice. And we don't have the tool to do that. So we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. We're gonna pop off the fuel pump. So there's like a cover in the rear seat. We're gonna remove that and then stick a little hose in there, and we're gonna siphon it out by hand.
There you go.
You guys like that? If you plan on swapping between E85 and other like octane fuels and whatnot, maybe you track your car often, there are much faster ways to do this with a bit of prep work. Rear seat, anyone? It literally just latches in 2 places. You pull a little tab and the entire rear seat comes up. I just love the simplicity of Japanese cars. Seriously, it's just a breath of fresh air. The S5 was not like this. Look how easy that is, Tommy. That's it, and there's our fuel pump right under there. We've got the electrical connections severed to the fuel pump, and now what we're gonna do is start the car, and without adequate fuel pressure, the car will inevitably die, but this will relieve pressure in the line, so when we pop these, fuel doesn't spray all over, and the cabin ends up smelling like corn till the end of time. Here we go, pure cringe.
Go.
I guess our fuel pressure is already low. Should we try it one more time or not?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it one more time. Yeah, dude, there's no fuel. And there's no fuel in the lines at all. There we go. Only a tiny little bit. And then all we're gonna do is remove these few Phillips screws. It's so refreshing just seeing, like, this is all held down by Phillips screws. Like, not Torx or anything weird. It's so nice. And then we're just gonna crack this. We don't need to pull it all the way up. We just need a big enough opening to get our hose in there to start siphoning the E85. She's just gonna funnel straight in there.
There we go.
It's moving pretty dang quick, bro. Wow. This is not gonna take long at all. That's a great like $20 tool. And it's still chugging along. So it's gonna be hard to see from this perspective, but that tank goes a fair ways down there. And it's all flowing through that bladder. And we still got the other half to go. This again should pop right off. We've got one connection this time. I think this is just to power the pump. I think on the other side we had the float, which tells us how much fuel is left in the tank. That's why there was a second connector. We're gonna top this up now. It's just 5 gallons, we're not topping it up, but whatever bit of ethanol is still in the system is gonna be heavily diluted by good old-fashioned 93 octane. I'm surprised I haven't spilled a single drop yet. Well, now I just jinxed it.
Yeah, so. Don't talk too soon.
Oh, Tommy, what's that? What's that behind you?
Is that what we need? Oh,
is
holy
that
blown out.
UPS? That's our part. I hope it's the right part. I really do. I'm kind of
You've got him right so far.
I think it's right. It was a very elusive part. I gotta say, it was so difficult finding the part number and then finding a place that actually had it in stock. And it's not the core support, it's a piece just in front of the core support for the intercooler. I also think that one's like carbon. I think it's like a carbon composite or whatever. What's going on, man? All right, so that should just about do it. We just had the good folks over at UPS drop off the last part we need for the intercooler, which is the last part we need for it to be comfortable enough to take this on the road. With 93 in it, we're gonna have to prime the lines again, but I think, my hunch, is that when we start the car this time around, it's gonna idle better.
But it still idled rough. These injectors were proving far more stubborn than we first thought.
Still smells like corn right now, so the last little bit's gonna be burning off here. Oh yeah, those fuel injectors are not playing nicely with this. But at least we know that we didn't screw anything up back here. So it runs, we'll just leave it at that for now. And we've been talking with a local tuner who's gonna send us a base tune for the mods we have here, including those stock injector, or those upgraded injectors, I should say, so that this hopefully idles and runs a bit smoother. Our goal is to get it running smooth enough to where we can take it without hammering on it to the tuner without having to tow the car. And then from there, we can get that tune dialed in, again, for the supported mods on this particular vehicle. It doesn't make any sense for a car like this to not get it custom tuned on a dyno. I just think we'd be doing the car a huge disservice. And since every one of these engines is hand built, they're all slightly different, it's really important that we hone in our air fuel mixtures and a bunch of other goodies. Let's see how good this thing looks. I was under the impression it was a new part, but I didn't buy it from like a dealer or anything. So if it's not new, I wouldn't be surprised. As long as it's not in rough shape, you know, we're gonna be in a better situation than we are currently. It's just so tough to find. And you didn't see this one coming, Tommy. A cool $900.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
If this was made out of like actual plastic and not carbon fiber composite, I don't know how I feel about that. This probably would be a couple $100 tops. This is going to essentially slide in right here. It's gonna go all the way against this core support, and then we're gonna have to make a few cuts in order to get the intercooler to sit properly. I think this entire upper shield is gonna have to be cut back a bit.
And I was right. We ended up shaving off nearly half of this support bracket, which wasn't easy to process mentally given I'd just paid over $800 for it. Our STM intercooler was just so large that we had to carve out a ton of carbon composite to accommodate. But by the end, it was finally properly supported by the car. A short cleanup later, and it was off to the races. Only a few things remained before we could actually confidently take this car on the road, or at least in the neighborhood. Firstly, Derek traded out our steel intake pipes for some black aluminum ones, which proved much lighter and easier to manage. Then came the horns, which, if you know anything about Florida roads, are, in my opinion at least, an absolute necessity. Our broken AC lines were removed and fed into replacements from our OE condenser, and we can now properly recharge the system at our earliest convenience. Not a huge deal yet since winter is on its way here in Florida, but it's another thing crossed off our shrinking to-do list.
Up next are some spacers. This is purely cosmetic, but I'm not a huge fan of how sunken in these wheels are by default. So this is the safer play. Like, I understand why OEs do this because they don't want a ton of rocks and things flying out. And technically when you add spacers, I mean, it's not the most recommended thing for track use and stuff, but for a great stance, I'm looking for a flush fit. I think these are gonna go a long way. These are H&Rs, which is a great quality, great brand, and they are just 15 mils. So they're not gonna be very thick, but that's really all we need to get these looking nice and crisp and lined up with our fenders.
Greg, that was a good call, man. Looks really good.
It really does, doesn't it? Yeah, I noticed while we were rebuilding, once we put the wheels back on, I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't look as sporty. You know, if you have like flush fitment, I mean, there's just nothing like that, especially with a stock config. You guys know I'm a sucker for OEM Plus. So I'm glad we could retain these wheels again with just one replacement. I also somehow managed to get the lug key stuck. There we go. All right. And yeah, it's just so much better. Why is it still spinning? Stop spinning. There it goes. One hole there, and then there's a larger hole on this side for it to sort of sit. And then, wow, dude.
Oh, wait a minute.
Dude, that's like, I saw in the photos, I'm pretty sure that's normal, but that is touching. STM fit literally the biggest intercooler they could behind this crash bar, which is awesome in one sense, but I'm also like, wow, like, I mean, geez. That is cutting it awfully close. And then check this out, Tommy. I'm not sure if the camera's gonna show that well, but that is a warped crash bar screw. That just goes to show you how bad of an impact this was. I mean, you saw in one of the early videos how bent out of shape that outer tie rod was on the driver's side. And this is just another, I guess, testament to how hard this owner was hit at that intersection. So I'm probably gonna keep this, or maybe we do a giveaway. I mean, if somebody wants like a bolt, but like, this is a really cool token of the rebuild because yeah, I mean, you don't see that every day. Like, that's a pretty serious warp there.
That's wild.
Also, yes, this sticker is upside down. Don't worry, it's supposed to be like that. We need the tow hook on this side of the car, on the driver's side, because that aligns with the bumper. Not sure why Nissan puts the sticker on upside down. Might have something to do with the way it's manufactured, but it is definitely in the correct orientation.
What is that noise, Greg?
Those are the injectors not liking the tune we are running. We're waiting on that tune. When we get that custom map, it'll be a base map. We'll bring it in for dynoing later, but this will at least give us a smoother ride so we can take the car ourselves to the tuner to get it fully fleshed out. So that's that clanking noise. I've never heard that noise before, but apparently that's the noise injectors make when stuff doesn't play right. And could that be our tuner? That is our tuner.
No way.
Literally on the dot. So hopefully we get this installed again through the access port, which is one of the reasons why I like Cobb. It's just so easy and the tunes take like seconds to flash. Hopefully that fixes that clanking noise and then we can actually take it for a quick spin. Like we promised in the last video, and it didn't actually happen. So I think we're in the home stretch here. And boom, there you go. ECU change map successful. All right, so car's going back off. We can go ahead and pop this bad boy out and give it a proper start again.
But something was still very wrong, and I'm sure you can hear it as well. That loud metal clanking sound was still our injectors having a rough go of it. And my face sort of says it all. Why on earth was this car still not idling correctly? Did we miss something when the engine was out? Did we not wire the harness correctly? Surely we don't have to re-drop this engine. I don't know if I could keep it together if that was the case. Maybe we missed a vacuum line or two? I stared at this engine for, I kid you not, hours, replaying the assembly over and over in my head, until I remembered this vent here on the side of our manifold that we'd failed to connect. And have a guess where the other end of this runs. Yeah, our fuel pressure regulator. Couple that with my failure to properly ground a few wires stemming from our fuel harness, I don't know how I missed that either, and you've a recipe for, well, a bad time, to say the least. I literally was laying on top of this engine to reach said grounds, but I was finally able to properly secure them.
Well, I'm super glad that we stared at this engine for literally 2 or 3 days trying to figure out what was wrong with it. It wasn't the tuner's fault. It was no one else's fault other than my own, because I was responsible for the harness and the connections at the rear of the engine. And eventually something just clicked. You know, I was looking around online. Why on earth do we not have a cable running where it should? Why do we have an extra vacuum line disconnected? I mean, this is all just small little pieces of this puzzle that, again, we have no instructions for, that I think we've buttoned up and that I think will fix our fueling issues. Without further ado, Tommy, I think it's time to start this car up and hope for the best. I want a smooth idling engine for the first time. I don't want it to run too lean or too rich. I just want it to just have a good time. Finally, for once since the crash. Let's do this.
Whoa! No crackling and rattling and banging?
Dude, this is smooth. Wow, this is the first time since we bought this car that this thing has idled smooth. Now it's cold right now, obviously, but wow, that's what we were looking for. Wow, here, let me show them the revs real quick.
Night and day.
It is. Oh yeah, look at that, nice and smooth. And you know what, Tommy? We don't have that clanking fuel injector sound that we had before.
The metal on metal sound.
Oh,
that's always great.
That was awful. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. No, that is fantastic.
It's smooth.
Okay.
Awesome.
I can smell that.
Dude, that is awesome.
That's a much better smell than what we had before.
Yeah.
I think it was running too lean.
I do miss the corn smell.
Yeah. Tommy?
All right, we going for a spin?
Let's go. Love that shatter. Manual. Let's keep it in manual. Yeah, so all that chattering is... That's the gearbox. Yep, that sounds actually pretty normal, surprisingly. The brakes feel good. That's shifting into second.
Dude, you're driving your GT-R.
It pulls a little to the right, so yeah, my alignment's not perfect. Dude, but this is rolling. Like,
yes.
it's rolling, it's what we wanted. and it's doing it, and it actually feels pretty good.
We did it, folks. Without getting ahead of ourselves, we've gotten this crash-damaged GT-R back on the road. And I know we aren't fully done with this project yet, but the fact that we've turned this from a mangled ride with serious frame rail damage and a potential fire hazard into a rolling R35 again is just so cool. Apart from a few stutters here and there, it felt great. It was super smooth, the brakes were solid, the engine purred. What more could we ask for?
I still can't believe you're driving it. This is awesome.
Wow.
You're gonna crash GT-R in your garage.
Oh man, I can't get over how good this feels. This car feels so nice.
There were just a few remaining things to button up.
That grinding metal noise is it's from right here. It's the AC compressor. I'm not sure if that's cooked or not. We haven't checked the AC because we haven't filled it yet. So that might be something we tackle at a later date. I don't see the fans kicking on yet. It's a hot reservoir. So we'll have to keep our eye on those temps. Other than that, I don't smell anything weird. Do you, Tommy?
Yeah.
Yeah, these turbos, man, they just, whew, there's so much heat coming up from back there. Fans kicked on.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, nice. So 180-ish is when they kicked on. They're pretty quiet, I gotta say.
That is quiet.
And if you recall, that's with our 350, 370Z G35 fan modules that folks thought were to blame for our fuse mishap earlier. So that's great to see. I know Derek was a little concerned about that as well, but this could prove useful info for folks that maybe are rebuilding their core and want to use cheaper modules. I think they are pretty much the same, and they just turned back off again, so temperatures all around I think are pretty fantastic with this Mishimoto radiator. Idles aren't jumping anymore like they were before.
That's nice.
Might have to do something with the ECU learning too. When we clear the ECU learning, basically you're wiping the slate clean for stuff that it's recognized during previous sessions. So like when we had the fuel regulator issue, right, and we weren't properly grounded, the ECU was trying to account for all of those fluctuations in fuel pressure. And if we hadn't relearned, then that ECU would have probably assumed that there were still issues and tried to overcompensate even though the problem was fixed. So that's why sometimes it's good just to reset it, just to relearn. We're not clearing the tune or anything, but we're clearing a lot of those stored parameters from previous sessions in hopes that it drives smooth. Like right now, it's pretty dang good. No light in the dash yet.
Now, I probably shouldn't be doing this next part without a properly honed in tune, but
Yeah.
That sounds so good. That was like 3,500. That wasn't even peak.
Made the right noises, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
just can't get enough of this thing. What a day it's gonna be when we can finally do some pulls on the highway and launch it from a dead stop. I still remember that feeling of launching one when I was younger, and with the mods we've done to this now rebuilt example, I'm sure it'll hit even harder under full boost. What a journey this has been, and we're not finished yet, but this is a huge milestone. The car rolls, it feels great on the road, apart from some jitters lower down. Again, I think that's tune related, we can work those out later. It feels nice. We're gonna log some sessions just going up and down the neighborhood here to be on the safe side before we take the car to the dyno. That's one of the first things on the agenda for hopefully the last video in this rebuild series. We're gonna get the car dialed in on the dyno, we're gonna see what kind of power it makes, make sure the tune is all worked out in terms of fuel delivery and timings, and then we'll rip it up. I wanna launch this thing so bad. I so badly want to launch this. We're gonna bring it into Derek before we do that, because Derek is the one-stop shop for anything Godzilla. And we've had him over a few times just to checking on progress, and so far he's been impressed. So I hope that sentiment remains when he gets the car up on a lift and looks underneath it. They're few panels underneath that are missing right now. But this is just, I think it's a huge accomplishment for both of us, Tommy. We've literally rebuilt the entire front end of a GT-R. I mean, down to the frame. I can't believe we've made this much progress in only a few months. So with that, we're gonna leave you, and we're gonna have, again, I hope, a pretty awesome finale, so be sure to stay tuned for that. If you aren't already subscribed, get subscribed, hit that red subscribe button, leave comments below, and consider sticking around for the next one. My name's Greg, his name's Tommy. Thanks for building with us.